Hi everyone, and welcome to Basket Class number 1. I am really excited to have you here. Today is the day that you become a basket weaver. So our first basket is going to be the Sweet and Sassy Strawberry basket. When I started this, I wanted to kind of keep all the materials relatively standard through the first few baskets. The main reason is I don't want you to buy a whole bunch of different materials and then maybe you decide this isn't for you. If you weave it with 1/2 inch, which is what I'm going to suggest, so that you have 1/2 inch, we're going to use that for at least the first 3 or 4 baskets. Your Sweet and Sassy Strawberry basket will look like this. It will be about the size of a strawberry basket. It is perfect for when you're not using it for strawberries to hold all of your season packets in your pantry. So it's a nice little basket to do that. Going to be basket number 1. That basket is going to teach us how to mark our materials, how to determine which is the right side and the wrong side of our materials. It's going to teach us how to plait our materials or plait our materials. If you have or want to put an insert, you can put an insert here. You don't have to. Again, don't feel like you have to go out and buy a whole bunch of materials to weave this basket, but you can if you want to put a handle insert, or sorry, not a handle insert, an insert, so that you can paint something or put decals on here. It's also going to teach us how to twine and how to cut and tuck. This is a particularly dirty basket, but how to cut and tuck. So those are the basic skills that we're going to learn with basket number 1, the Sweet and Sassy Strawberry basket. There is the pattern as well as down below the cut pattern, but there is this basket on the blog if you'd like to see that, and that is the Farmhouse in the Field at blogspot.com, Sweet and Sassy Strawberry basket.
Mark your 1/2 inch flat 10 pieces at 24 inches, marking the center line at 12 inches. Immediately put your 10 pieces into your pail or bucket of water along with your number 2 or number 3 round reed. You can at this point also put in your insert if it's a heavy insert and it's going to need time to soften. Once the flat has softened enough, locate the wrong side and the 1/2 inch. Lay 5 pieces flat with the wrong side up onto your towel or work surface. We're going to line up that 1/2 inch mark, and then what you can also do is to keep them secure, use your pail with water on top of your flat to hold those pieces down while you weave the spokes in the opposite direction. Once we have all 5 of our spokes laid side by side in the centers at the 1/2 inch mark, equal on all of the spokes, we're going to start with our other spoke, our weaver, and we're going to go under, over, under, making sure that the 1/2 mark on the weaver spoke matches up with the center 1/2 mark of the 3rd spoke. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the spokes from the water, and we're going to weave in the opposite pattern. So if we started under, we'd go over, and we'll go the opposite pattern of 2 spokes on either side of the original spoke, and then the final 2 spokes. Once we have both our vertical and our horizontal stripes, we have to space this out so it's even. Keep in mind this will change, this will readjust, so you'll have to constantly respace it. But we're just going to take a piece of leftover 1/2-inch reed, flat, and we're going to use that as our measuring device to make sure that our spokes are evenly spaced, both horizontally and vertically. Again, there's nothing to hold these spokes in at this point, so they may adjust as you start weaving, so you will have to do this constantly, checking to make sure that your spokes are even and that they're not crooked or wonky in any way. At this point, grab your pincher-like clothespins, and these are what's going to hold our corners together. Again, there's nothing to support it, so you may end up having to readjust this. But think of your clothespins as additional fingers throughout the time that you're weaving your basket. They are going to hold your reed in place until your reed is secure enough to be held on its own. Now, taking your round reed out of your water, locate a long piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some needle nose pliers, and we are going to fold this round reed. But we're not folding it in half. We're folding it so that the ends are off-centered. And this is important because we do not want to have that round reed stop at the same exact place in your basket, because you will end up getting a lump in that basket where those 2 pieces stop. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the crimper in order to break the fibers down enough that we can easily weave around our spokes. The top piece of your round reed is always going to be your weaver, and we're going to try to get it as close to our basket as possible, as close to the spokes, without causing it to pucker. We handle corners a little bit different. We move the top weaver out of the way, the top round reed, and we bend the bottom reed towards where we just wove. We then will take the top reed and go around the corner. What this does is this locks that reed into place. If you didn't do that, what would happen, we'll show you in a minute, is it would just simply slide underneath your weaver on the corners. So once we've locked that in place, you want to get it as close as you can to the spokes without puckering. So here's what would happen if we did not lock it. As you can see, there's nothing to hold it there, so it goes right underneath your weaver. So we'll backtrack and we will do it the correct way, lifting the bottom up, coming around with the top so that it sits right next to that spoke, to that weaver. So it's solid. You can see it's lined up, and the corner is now locked. We're going to go around the basket 3 times. Now, if you run out of reed, you can simply put a 90-degree bend on the weaver and slide it under your previous weaving. The important thing to do there is to make sure that when your reed is very wet when you do this. Otherwise, you will break your reed. Now we're going to bounce the spokes up so that we can start building the sides of our basket. Your reed has to be very, very damp so as to not break it. If your reed does not feel damp or you hear a crack, immediately put it into your pail so that your base can soak a little bit longer. So we're going to bend it up, and as we do it, we're going to secure the sides with clothespins. We can also do this on the corner sides as well, but this just gets them up out of the way and gets the spokes to get that memory of standing up now. Now, one thing you can see here that I did not mention is that when we end with our twining, we don't have to bury it. It's optional. You can if you'd like. You can also just leave those spokes in the direction that it's weaving. Leave that up while you're weaving. Once the whole basket is dry, then you can go back and trim them a little closer. Starting on the first spoke of this basket, we always have to maintain 4 spokes afterwards because we're going to bury the end when we come around again. Use as many clothespins as you possibly need, especially for the bottom 2 rows, because it's the only thing that's keeping your reed attached to those spokes. As we go around a corner, also make sure that that corner is tight. We don't want loose corners, and we don't want them puckering in. We want it so that the reed stands up in that area. So again, feel free to use as many clothespins as you need to keep that situation going. Here we're back at the beginning. We're going to start counting over 4, and we're burying it under this 4th reed. So we're going to come around. We're going to lift up the reed that we've already woven under, put the reed down, and then down over the 4th one. And you see we bury it under the 4th one, so it's not seen from the front. You will have to more than likely cut your reed. For full disclosure here, I'd already done it once and taken it out, so that's why it ended perfectly. Don't expect it to end perfectly. We've come around to this side, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start our reed on the opposite side. Each time we come around, we want to try it on an opposite side to avoid those lumps that could form if you have the basket always starting on one side for your weavers. So going on the opposite side, and then when we weave the next 2 rows, we will start on another side that we had not started weaving on. That way you're not getting the lumps. We always weave on the opposite pattern of the one before. So now we're going to start with our reed sitting on top of the 2nd spoke in. Remember, we always have to keep 4 so that we have some place to bury it. We're back at the beginning. We're going to count over 4 to a reed that's sitting on top, and that is where we're going to cut our weaver. We are going to cut it and then bury it underneath that weaver, that spoke, so that you do not see it. So we're just laying it on top of our existing weaving. Using your 1/4 flat oval, we're going to just grab another side that we have not started on. We're going to put it, count over 4 to make sure we've got enough space to bury it. And we're going to do this in the insert the exact same way. I'm putting in, I believe this is either maple, I think it's maple, it may be ash. If you did not want an insert, you could simply weave 2 more rows of 1/2 inch flat flat, or you could weave in maybe 4 rows of 1/4 inch flat oval, whichever you decided. If you do the insert, be very careful. Inserts, depending on how heavy the wood is, require a lot of time to soak. If at any time you hear something crack, take it out, put it right back in to soak a little bit longer. At this point, we're just repeating the pattern in reverse. So it's going to be 1/4 inch, half, 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 half. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit so that we're not waiting. Now we're going to start twining the side. Taking 2 pieces of round reed, we're going to lay them against 2 consecutive spokes, and we're going to start weaving around. Remember, the round reed that is on top is your weaver. We are going to weave 3 rows of twine. Once we're completely around to the beginning spoke, we're going to leave a long tail on the inside, maybe about 1 inch or so. And we're going to end it on the spoke that we started and the next spoke over. Once the basket is completely dried and we're ready, we've rimmed it, it's completely done, we can go back and then cut those a little shorter so they don't snag on anything that you're putting inside the basket. Now, unfortunately, I lost the footage to the cutting and tucking. What we're basically going to do is, with very damp reed, we're going to first pack our basket down. So that means taking your screwdriver and putting all your rows of weaving. You're going to try to get them very tightly against each other. Then all we're going to do is fold that over our twining we just did and then sink it underneath one of the spokes. We want to make sure you can't see it on the inside or the outside when we sink it, so it's going to be hidden behind the spoke. Now this just shows you that by increasing or decreasing the reed by a simple 1/4 of an inch, you can make totally bigger baskets or smaller baskets. It's very, very simple. And I appreciate you watching. Next month we are going to weave a market basket, one of probably the most useful baskets you're going to come across.